guys, it's Sylvia here, and today we are building a tiny house in The Sims 4. And the reason why I'm starting in the very corner of this lot is because I'm planning on building a series of 4 tiny houses on this lot. And the reason for that is because I love building tiny houses, but sometimes in the gameplay it can be a little bit boring if you have just one sim living in one tiny house on a lot. So it actually becomes a lot more fun if you have like a community of tiny houses, and that way if one of your sim is doing something, say like building a skill and taking some time doing that, you can go play with the other sims who are living on the lot. So yeah, this is the first in a series of 4 tiny houses, and what I'm planning to do is for every week of December to do one Sims build video, and each one is gonna be a tiny house on this lot. For the last week of December, to kind of like wrap up this series, I'm thinking that I could either do a like create a sim or a let's play, or I could do like a big build video. So we'll see. I haven't really decided yet. After the whole lot has been built, I will be uploading this lot onto the Sims gallery, and you can find it with my username, which is Sylvia S. Chow. And in January, I'll be going back to doing DIY videos. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this little Sims 4 series. Anyways, so this particular build is like a railroad inspired tiny house. I'm building it for a painter sim, and I imagine she's like very artsy and into vintage stuff. So the idea is kind of, I can imagine that she would convert a vintage train cart into a tiny house. As you can see, I also reference a lot of images online of actual vintage train carts to get an idea of what they look like. And I played around for a while with kind of doing a loft space in this cart, but I ended up not doing it just because I felt like there was enough space to do a layout all on one floor. Here I'm just placing the kind of like wheels of the train cart, and again looking at reference photos just to get like as accurate as I can. And this is a house for a little painter sim, so I imagine it would be really cute if she had like a balcony area to paint in, where she can look out into the views and just get inspired. And here I'm just placing some lights on all of the poles on the house. And then I was trying to get the sim to go into the house, and she kept not being able to go in, and I finally figured out it was because I've enlarged one of the toy carts in the game as a reference for kind of the proportions of this house. The toy that I enlarged was preventing the sim from entering the house, so I went ahead and moved it. It ended up being kind of the partition to another tiny house that's going to be on the same lot, so that actually worked out really nice. Yeah, so after I moved it, she was able to go into the house, but for some reason she looks so miserable in her house. I don't know why. So here I'm just placing the other side of the wheels. And for the placement of the bathroom, I actually ended up placing it in the middle of the house, which divided the house into kind of the living room area and the bedroom area, so that worked out well. And then here I'm just testing out that the shower works, and then this guy walks in and takes a dump, and then the other guy walks back in and stares at him doing, you know, the number 2. So yeah, Sims are kind of weird sometimes. And then for the kitchen, I just went with the whole vintage feel with the stove and the fridge. And then they started a fire, and she's very tense, understandably. For the kitchen, I found this really cool kind of like metal grate floor, so I thought that worked out really well. And the couch in the living room is actually like a diner booth, but it reminded me of like the booths that you would have in the train compartments. So I imagine that came with the train. And I also love this vintage trunk. Went really well with the theme. And this little yellow chair, you can pull it out when your sim has guests over, and just tuck it away for every day. And a nice bookshelf, a mirror there. Also gave her a vintage record player. And I tried to get a full-size bed into the room, but then I just felt like the layout worked better, kind of like galley style, with a single bed. And that way I can incorporate like a little, I was thinking either dining area here, but it actually ended up being a little study nook. Oh, and this little trunk here I thought again went with, or maybe it's like a treasure chest, but again I think it just went with the vintage train cart idea really well. I also looked at reference images for the inside of vintage train cars, and that really helped me decide like which lighting fixture. I ended up going with like a round glass one that looked similar to a lot of what they had in vintage trains. And here I'm just kind of partitioning off the study nook and the bedroom area from the kitchen and main living area. And I'm placing a rug in the bedroom just to make it a little more cozy. And then next I'm just adding some curtains in the bedroom and study nook area. I really love all the warm yellow and oranges in this build. Some curtains in the bathroom for privacy. And then I also got this kind of like Art Deco style poster for the main living area. And just placing some fairy lights in the backyard area because I wanted this to be like kind of a communal space. So I also put down like a karaoke machine and this little thing where they can like perform music on, and added some trees so they could have some shade, and of course more Christmas lights on the trees. Lots of wildflowers in the landscaping. I wanted to go for this sort of like overgrown look. I love this little picnic table because it looks like the sim could have hand painted it herself. And some more Christmas lights, of course. And some, nice lawn chairs that you can watch your sim perform. And here I'm just using the terrain tool to put down some loose stones and darkening the areas where it would have dirt. I'm putting also a lot of rocks all around just to edge the landscape. Of course, don't forget the trash can. They're going to need that in mailboxes. And I also placed a lot of grass and flower around the train cart itself because it's kind of like she's been parked here for a while. She's been parking her tiny house here for a while, and it's quite overgrown and with wildflowers. So yeah, I think it looks really nice. And of course, a little gnome and a little toy train in the house just adds a nod to the inspiration. And I had our little sim paint a mural in her backyard. And when you paint the mural, you actually have to move that enlarged train cart out of the way, or else you can't paint on it. But after they're done painting, you can just move it back. And lastly, I'm just putting some stairs in the back porch area because I showed my sister the house and she pointed out that it's kind of a fire hazard to not have an exit in the back. Anyways, that's it for the build. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the video tour and I'll see you again next time.
All aboard.